Well, greetings, everyone. I am Mark Little, the host of CareQuest Solutions podcast. I am extremely excited about today's episode and introducing Ann Beasley. She is now going to be a co host with me on a special series podcast, a playlist. So I want to go ahead and just bear with me and let me read a little bit about Ann. She's been a nursing home and assisted living administrator for 25 years in a total of 30 years in healthcare. Over the years, she's worked with home health, private sitters, hospice care. She also has worked with behavioral units, dementia, and memory care units. And Anne has found most people don't understand how to navigate through senior living, and that is the truth. Anne has the privilege of working with a lot of families to find the best level of care for their loved ones. Her passion is helping people to know what are the next steps and how to get there. So Anne's heartbeat and vision merges that of us here at CareQuest Solutions. So I'm extremely proud that Anne is joining me to be a co-host on these special episodes that will be upcoming. We're going to bring Anne in and we're going to learn a little bit about her background, and kind of get a little bit behind the scenes. She can share her personal story with her and her mom. So without further ado, let's get this going and let's have some fun. Ann,
Hi,
my new co-host, welcome to the show.
thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So very glad you are here. So let's don't hesitate. Let's just kind of kick this off and just give a little bit. I know I read a lot about it, but just kick off a little bit about your background, share what you want, and then we will get into the personal story that you want to share with your mom. So just take it away.
Great, great. Well, you did read. I have been a nursing home administrator for 25 years. I've got assisted living background and my administrator license for assisted living as well. I have worked with dementia units, behavioral units. I've worked with hospice in the past, home health, private sitters. I actually grew up, my mom started a home health in my hometown years ago with United Way. And that's how I originally became associated with any of this. I worked with her. Um, and she placed private sitters at home. Back in the day,
Okay.
you didn't have to be certified. And so that's how I got introduced into healthcare. And it took several years later until I stepped into it, but got my nursing home administrator's license, and have loved it ever since. And that's just been my passion, is to help people and
It's
to
like you
help.
never really knew what you were getting involved with, right? And then you went.
No, you never know when you step
Yeah.
into healthcare what you're getting involved
Yeah.
with.
Well, I think what's interesting, and this seems to be true with most people that have the right heart, because you got to have a heart of serving to be able to hang in there in this industry, regardless of the category of the side of the profession you get involved with. It's a lot of emotional situations. I had someone this morning that a discharge planner reached out yesterday and said there's someone that has already been discharged and they're really needing help. And so got a text this morning and she said, "Are you working today? Can we talk?" So I call her, and it was one of those situations that I could help point her somewhere. But again, it's the benevolent side. They only had $950.
Oh,
And it's like, what do you do with that? Right. So that's definitely going to be a nursing home situation.
yeah.
And the crazy sad part is he was only 41 and he had strokes. So I'm sure
So
you've seen it all.
you and I need to talk about that one.
Mhm.
We may be able to keep him out of the nursing home if it's possible.
All right. Well, all right. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
sidebar that and talk about
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good. And
yeah,
what's interesting, that's really awesome. And what's good is we'll get into this when we, our series that's coming up. I'm not just saying this. Subscribe and hit the alert bell on this channel, because there's going to be some phenomenal content you and I are going to bring
Yeah.
to the table to help families
Yeah.
navigate all this. I can't even begin to go through the playlist and the topics that you've pre-planned. It's valuable information.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's anything you want to add before we move on to your personal story, or have we pretty much covered it enough and it'll come out over the next coming months and years?
I think it will definitely come out, and I love to hear you say over the next years, because I really think we've got that much information to share with people, and that's all I want to do. I want to get this information out there to them and be a resource for them to reach out to us, to help them with what is the next step. So,
That's
yeah.
right. You are a godsend and a perfect person to co-host those series there. So
Well, thank
without further ado, let's kick it off and let's learn more about you and your background and of course your personal story with your mom. So just
you.
as your heart brings it up, just speak it and let's learn about your personal experiences with your mom and your
Sounds
journey.
great. That sounds great. So, yeah, I really wanted to tell this story, Mark, because it is very emotional. As you mentioned a while ago, this is an emotional journey for anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. And so, my family went through this with my own mom. And I just think it's important for people to hear that even as a nursing home administrator, I struggled.
Yeah.
It's hard to go through
Mhm.
this. So, just a little background on me. I grew up with nothing but brothers. I have four older brothers. I'm the only girl and the baby. People that listen to this that know me um, will probably tell you that answers a lot about me, but
Okay, and not to interrupt, but we have a lot in common. I had 3 older sisters and I'm the baby.
yeah.
And for us babies, we didn't choose that role, did we?
No, we did not, and I
Good.
cannot
Make
help
sure.
it that I was a daddy's girl, and I can't help all that, you know,
Good either.
not my
So
fault.
anyway, go
Anyway,
ahead.
so growing up with four older brothers, we actually lost my dad. I was in my late 20s, and
Wow,
we lost a brother right behind that. They passed away 2 months apart. My brother had cancer, and
wow.
so that left the four of us, moving on. And my mom was the backbone of our family, always was. And so that left all of us with mama. And she's not mother to me, she is mama.
Yeah.
I was definitely born and raised in the South, so she's
Mm,
mama. But moving on, mama, as mama aged and those kind of things, she had some falls. We started down that road of her getting older. And my mom was pretty healthy my whole life. So it wasn't like she'd had a lot of other issues going on with her. But she did have some falls at home. And so we had sitters with her. And that gets really expensive for people. It can be very expensive. And we were all pitching in to help pay for that and those kind of things. Mama never knew that. She was convinced it was her money paying for everything, and we left her thinking that, which is best.
mm, mm.
So we moved on through, and Mama had more falls, and so we started talking about, did we need to do something? Now there were four of us left. Two of us were on one side of this, and two of us were on the other side of this, and that I see that and have seen that so many times with families, the dynamics that have divided families, and you don't want to let
Yes,
that happen. And we were thankful.
absolutely.
We did not have that happen. We were okay. We had some arguments, we didn't always agree, but we got past that. So we talked about what was going to be best. Now, I was leaning toward assisted living, another brother as well. Two wanted mama to stay home. We knew how expensive that was to keep her at home. She also didn't have anybody at night with her, so she was just there. And my mother was Mama was one of those, she grew up in a small rural area. Her daddy was a cotton farmer. So Mama grew up, working, and that's what she always did. And she was not going to sit still. So Mama had brick steps that went down to the backyard, and the trash cans were out there. And it didn't matter how many times one of my brothers said, we'll come and we're going to do and whatever. Mama was not going to stop. She was going to go down those steps. All I could think was, she's going to fall going down those brick steps one of these days.
Mhm.
She was not real stable with her walking and that kind of thing. And she really worried me with that, because if she got it in her head, she was going to do it. Well, the boys that didn't agree with me said, well, at least she'd be at home. That was the thing. She'd be at home. And I even had one of my brothers said to me, I can't believe you're siding with the other brother. And I'm not
Jeez.
siding.
I'm not siding with anybody. I'm just trying to
No,
look out for mom.
I'm trying to side with mama and what's best for her. That was the big deal for me. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went through some of that, and everybody being on different sides of things. And we finally did come to an agreement that we would move mama to an assisted living. We started looking for assisted livings. We found a small one there in town that some of the ladies that we had known all of our lives, and my mother knew, lived there as well. It was out from town just a little bit. So it had a really beautiful view out back, and they had a porch that went across the back. And my mother loved outside. The home we grew up in actually had a screened in front porch that even now I'll have people on Facebook that will comment to me things about, gosh, I remember spending the night on your mama's screened in porch.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So for mama to have a porch was beautiful. That was a wonderful thing. So that worked out really well for her, and she could sit out there and, look out. So we felt like that was a good place for her.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry to interrupt here, but
no,
something came to mind that I think is important to bring up, because I'm going through the same tug of war with my family. So I want you to share, how did that end up being for the siblings that were resistant to it and was against it, like you're being Satan herself for even thinking about placing mom into assisted living. And then, of course, the challenges and the natural changes for your mother. Overall, how did it end up being once it happened and the adjustment period was done? Did the other siblings go, oh, this was the best thing, or did they still stay against it?
they settled in. I can't say they ever really came to this was the best thing. Now, my brothers may be watching this, so nobody's allowed to get mad at me for anything I say on this podcast. So,
Yeah.
but they did settle in. Mama never settled in. My mother was angry from the day we moved her.
Yeah.
I would go out to visit and she would still be upset and angry about being out there. But my brothers, we all did settle down. Everybody tried to make it the best. We would never have done anything any different.
Yeah.
Even if we don't agree on things, we're a very blessed family. Even if we don't agree, we may be mad at each other for a few days or a few hours or whatever. But
Yeah.
we pretty much say what we think and move on. And that was
Yeah.
kind of what we did. Said what
Well, I
we
think, and again, I'm not trying to this is important. This is a perfect example of being transparent and real. And it's not anything that I want to ruffle feathers of your brothers that
Yeah,
may watch this. To your brothers, I'm saying I'm living this with my own mother and
yeah,
father and sister. So this is a live example of sharing life, because all families go through this. Just like your mom still not ever accepting it. It doesn't change the fact that we have to look at the entire encompassing whole situation and balance the scales of what is best. Even when we were kids, our parents did things for our best that we never liked. I'm not saying it's
exactly.
completely like, hey, your mom became a kid, but in a way, the roles reverse. So looking out for her best interest is what's
Yeah.
important. But I'm just saying that for you to continue on. I just want to
Well,
interject
you're
that.
right. And they do almost revert to that. I would dare say a lot do so more so than even my mom did.
Hmm.
Mama mama forgot some things down the road, and that I'll talk about that in a minute. But you're right. Families go through this, and people are not always on the same page. You get hurt feelings, and we had some hurt
Yeah.
feelings, and we
Yeah.
had some
Yeah.
arguments through it.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It's very hard. But it is hard. We're the kids, and all of a sudden we're grown and the roles reverse. And I have said this to families over the years. None of us were raised thinking, woohoo, I want to put my parent in an assisted living or nursing home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also were not raised knowing how to all of a sudden make those decisions. And
Yep.
it can happen overnight. It did with us.
Mm-hmm.
Going to an assisted living was a process and getting her there and that kind of thing. We did have the arguments and went through that, but we finally settled. We got mama settled in. My brother and sister-in-law went out and decorated her little apartment. All that was fine. Mama was resistive, but I still had people at the assisted living telling me, oh, your mama's a little social butterfly. I
Wow.
would never describe my mother as a social butterfly. But she was the one prompting them to, oh, it's dinner time and let's have coffee and those kind of things. And I was thrilled to hear that. Now, she wouldn't
Yeah.
admit that to us.
Sure.
So when I went out, there were she told me one time she wanted to see my oldest brother. My oldest brother was an attorney.
Okay.
So she said, I need to see your brother. Will you tell him? And I said, yes, ma'am. I'll make sure he knows. I'll let him know to come see you. And she said, well, I need to talk with him, and gave me one of those young lady looks.
Yeah.
I'm changing my will. And it was, okay, mama. She was mad at me. I happened to be the
Yeah.
one there, and that was fine. I said,
Yeah.
well, mama, I will let him know that you want to see him. So we went through times like that. Now I can laugh about that now and know that
Sure.
mama was just being.
But it cut at the time. Yeah.
At the time, it was very unsettling. It was, it was a little nerve wracking, and I left there in tears. Not in
Yep.
front of her, but I got in the car and
Sure.
cried.
Yeah.
It's tough. So you go through this, and you go through moving your parent out of the home that, oh my gosh, we grew up in. My mother had been in that home probably 70 years, something like that. I mean, a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was very emotional. That's a whole different podcast of what we ended up doing with the home. But regardless, we did go through that, and we got mama settled. Well, mama was not in the assisted living more than a month or two. And here's when I say it happened overnight. Of all the falls mama had ever had, we'd broken hips. She had fallen and broken knees. She broke her elbow, but she fell at the assisted living in the bathroom area. Got her to the hospital, and mama had had a stroke.
Wow.
Strokes are scary. They
Yeah.
scare me more than anything
Yeah.
because you don't have a clue. You don't have a bunch of symptoms that start happening. Heart attack, sometimes you may have some signs. A stroke, not necessarily. And then you don't know what you're going to regain from a stroke.
True. And how quick they can get to it regardless.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from there, of course, mama's at the hospital. And at the hospital, it became obvious that mama could not return to an assisted living. Now, a little background on my mom. Mama had glaucoma. She had macular degeneration with her eyes. She was losing her sight more and more. We went through some tough times with that. I believe that she completely lost her sight when she had that stroke. Now, my brothers didn't necessarily get on board with that piece, but I do believe that she did, because from the hospital, we had to make a decision to go to a nursing home. So we wanted to find the best nursing home. Now, this is something I will say to people, and you'll hear me say this throughout podcasts that we do together, is that it is never about bricks and mortar. It is not about the bricks and mortar of a nursing home. Most of the nursing homes, there's 357 nursing homes right now in the state of Georgia.
Yeah. And isn't it important, and we will get into this, the difference between nursing home and assisted living and memory care?
Yes.
Those are three completely different things, the way they're paid for, et cetera. So just as a note, that will be covered coming up, but go ahead.
We'll cover that in a series coming up together where we'll talk through some of those, because they're very different. All of those are very different in what you get. We knew we had to do nursing home. We were going to have to go into what now is called skilled care. And you'll hear that more and more, because we don't really refer to them as nursing homes, although we do.
Sure.
Everybody calls them skilled care. But we knew mama was going to have to go there, and long-term care is what we needed with her.
Yeah.
So mama had, during the stroke, mama got to where she just couldn't do a lot for herself anymore from that point. And so we picked out a nursing home. But again, not bricks and mortar. When you go into a nursing home, and I actually have a list of questions for a tour, if you're touring an assisted living or a nursing home, that we can share, and we can
awesome.
throw out. I actually have it on my webpage, and I'll share it with you to put out, on our Care Quest. So we've got that too. but you need to make sure that you feel comfortable when you walk in.
Yeah.
You need to know that that staff is friendly, people speak to you. And then the other thing is that residents look clean.
And
And
how long the staff has been working there? How often do
there's
they turn over? Yeah,
staffing is a bear right
it
now
is,
in
especially after
all
COVID.
healthcare, anywhere
Yeah,
really. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a
yeah.
restaurant, staffing's tough right now. Um, but we're talking about dealing with people's lives. So in
Mhm.
healthcare, staffing is huge. That is a big piece of it because really, um, I have worked with a couple of staffs and actually am working with a building right now um, that I have said to the people there, it's a sweet little building. Well, what makes it a sweet little building is the staff.
Yeah, yeah,
They're friendly. They
yeah.
care about the residents. They live close by. A lot of them have been at this building for 20 years. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
And you don't
That's
find
that
that.
speaks volumes.
Yes, yes. So when I say it's a sweet little building, that's exactly what I mean. The staff is just so sweet. But you know that when you walk in. Doesn't matter what nursing home you're walking into, skilled facility, you walk in and you can tell, you can
Mhm.
get a feel, just like you do anywhere you walk
The
in.
energy of it all,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what you're looking for. It's going to
Mhm.
be old. 9 out of 10 of them are going to be old. They are going to have some of the issues that just go with old buildings. But that
Well,
doesn't
that's such an interesting point because went on a tour with a client last week, and we were downstairs. This where there a lot of activity. The seniors are active. Of course, we've placed at this community before, so obviously that's why she's there, because we recommend this would be a good fit for her husband, etc. And they didn't have any rooms available downstairs to show, so we were just going to go upstairs to uh, show one of the rooms. We literally walked off the elevator and she instantly, her whole energy changed. She goes, this isn't going to work. This is too empty, because there was no one. We're just upstairs and there was no activity and all.
yeah.
So that happens. That's you
Yes.
feel the energy, and you got to understand that families are taking everything in when they don't want to be there to begin with, because even if you, like your mom,
Absolutely.
you knew it was the best thing for her, but then you had brothers that were like, I ain't no way I want to do this at all. The conflict there. So you're already feeling conflicted.
Mhm.
So even when I go myself to these different places, I think about, would I want to be here? Would I want my wife to be here? Would I want mom and dad to be here? And no matter how nice it is, at the end of the day, no, I don't even want to have to be doing this. So go
No,
ahead. I just want to
no, you
interject.
don't. And no, you're so right. And you can't though, you can't put blinders on for things like that though when you walk in. You've really got to get a feel for it.
Mhm.
There's not going to be, I can just tell you, there's not going to be activities going on all the time. They're just not. That's
Well,
not
especially in skilled nursing, that's just
right.
not. Yeah,
You've got some that produce up now. If they do bingo and everybody does bingo, they're not going to miss bingo, and there's going to be a lot
right.
of activity around that. But walking into tour, I would say a couple of things just to throw in, not about my mama, but just about this, would be make sure you meet the administrator and the director of nursing. You
Mhm.
need to meet
Yes,
those people.
yes,
If
because
they
they're the one
around,
that's going to have to do the assessment anyway, as the nurse.
if
Yeah.
you walk in and that administrator is not available, now they be in a meeting, that's fine. I get that. But if they don't introduce you to that administrator, I promise you, administrators walking into any facility every day, you can set the tone for what that building's going to be,
Hmm.
and that's important.
Yeah.
So to say it starts at the top, it does.
Yeah.
And so meeting the administrator, meeting the director of nursing, huge when you're doing a tour. But back to my story about Mama, we did put her in a nursing home that was there in town, and it's attached to the hospital there.
Okay.
And we all agreed on it. That was where we wanted her to be, was to go there. So it you just have to find the right fit. And everybody wants to feel like, oh, I've made the perfect decision. And you're gonna have days you walk in and feel like this is not a good decision.
Right.
It's a roller coaster ride. All of
Yeah.
this is a roller coaster ride. It's just not easy. But we settled on the nursing home, and Mama was there. And the reason I thank Mama I just am convinced that she lost her sight. My brothers think not, because they would say, well, she could tell me it was sunny outside. When those CNAs get mama up in the mornings, and when they get her up, they would say, good morning, it's a beautiful day out, those kind of things. So, but you don't know. We were very blessed. My mother never forgot who any of us were. She knew when we walked in and spoke. She knew every one of us and never forgot us. So that was, that was good to know that we had that gift, because everybody doesn't get that gift either.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I think I've had more people share with me, very emotional about their parents don't know who they are anymore. And that's
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, even
Yeah.
just dementia itself. I mean, there's a thin line there, and we'll talk about that too. But, that's a tough thing. And we were very blessed. My mother never forgot any of us.
Yeah. I had my first experience last week. Mom had called and didn't really realize that she was talking to me, and she said, we're staying out at Mark's. Where's Mark? And I heard the nurse say, you're talking to him, and which sometimes you don't need to say that. You don't need to,
Right.
let him know. I just, he's all right. He's good. And it's weird. It was bizarre. So how long was your mom there, and what was the length of time, and when did she pass?
Well, yeah, this is going to sound crazy. We were blessed in that. And yes, I've been a nursing home administrator for 25 years, but we were blessed that our mom was not in the nursing home that long, about 5 months or so.
Okay.
From the time she went in. Mama turned 90 that November, and we lost her that January.
Wow.
So
And I'm sorry, I don't hope not misspeaking, but it kind of was a blessing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Listen, I would have kept my mother another 90 years, easy.
Sure.
But not in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Mama would be, and this is another thing that's tough for families. My youngest daughter, very close to my mom, walked in out of the nursing home, and my mother is sitting out in the common area. Now, people were around, but this is where I think Mama lost her sight. She was always cold, so they had her covered up. Well, that already doesn't look good when you walk in and somebody's in a wheelchair and they're all covered up. That's already a shock to your system. It doesn't matter how many times you see it. And she's yelling out, can somebody come get me? My daughter my daughter went straight to her room, and the nurse went down to check on my daughter. Because it is emotional. That's hard to walk in, and for families to come in, and your loved one is one of them that is hollering out. Mama didn't holler all the time. She didn't know where she was.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find someone for that moment. Now, I never went in when Mama was hollering. I would call the nursing home because I lived 2 hours away. My brothers lived.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I was 2 hours away, so I went home.
What an emotional drive to and from, right? The whole 2 hours. What am I going to, how is she going to be today? And then you get there, and if it wasn't as good of a visit, and you have the 2-hour drive home with all the thoughts and the emotions and all the stuff.
Well, they called me. I was at work, and they called me the day we lost our mom. The nurse called me because I had healthcare power of attorney. We split it all up, and so 2 of us had healthcare power of attorney. But they called me. The nurse called me, and I knew from what she was saying kind of what was going on with Mama. And I tried to warn my brothers that this is it.
Yeah.
She's probably not going to make it through the night. I knew what we were kind of facing, having spoken to the nurse and talked it through a little bit. So, we were fortunate. My mother had a living will, another subject that I know you're going to cover, on some podcasts with elder care attorneys and those kind of things, and the importance of all that. But my parents both had living wills, and we were very blessed with that. A good thing to have. But I did send Mama to the hospital, even with a living will, because I knew, and this is back to the family dynamics and what goes on. I knew that my brothers were going to feel better about that we at least did something and sent her to the ER. I knew there was nothing they could do, and Mama wasn't strong enough to make it through them trying to do anything. So we sent her to the hospital, and they called me, and I had that 2-hour drive to get there. And I had one brother calling me almost the whole time and, telling me, Mama, they're saying Mama's not going to make it. I tried to tell you that,
Yeah.
those kind of things. And so we got there, and it was a very peaceful, we were extremely blessed with that. I don't know if you'd ever convince my brothers that we were very blessed with that.
Yeah.
But it was very peaceful for Mama that night, and all of us were with her. I had one brother that was out of town and couldn't get here. He was actually out of the country at the time and couldn't be here with us. But the rest of us were there. My sister-in-laws were there. So Mama was not by herself. And, and it was very peaceful, but it's never easy. It's not easy for anybody. And I thought, oh, heck, I'm in healthcare, nursing home administrator. You see this stuff all the time. I'm just going to have a better perspective. You don't.
I can't stress that enough. And I'm so glad you said that, because I fall apart at times it's almost like I can't even deal with my family sometimes. I can't deal with the navigating the emotions, and we're all entitled, just like your brothers were entitled to their feelings. You were entitled to yours. The only, I guess, challenge could be you worked in the industry, and I've got my involvement in the industry. And it's almost like that's not even, I don't know if respected is the right word, but the family don't even acknowledge that you're coming from a perspective of seeing this more than just your family, even though you can't handle it like you can help consult with families you're working with. I need some consulting myself. I need to look in the mirror and go, hey, pretend like I'm your customer. What would you say to me?
Yeah.
So, but with that said, I bet you were a force to be reckoned with when y'all were replacing your mom, because they're not used to people like yourself having the true knowledge to where you're like, I do this. Right. So like,
well, I tell people all the time, and I really don't like to have to even admit this, but I felt like I have said to people as they were coming into the nursing home, we were trying to place them with us. I have said, look, I've been there. I was really not a very good family member. I was not one they wanted to see coming. There's been times though that, Mark, I've looked back and thought, you could have handled that better. They were doing the best they could do too. And Mama really was okay. But you do go in with a different eye when you're walking in, and truthfully, you reach a point where you don't even want anybody to know that you work in healthcare. Just nobody tell them what I do. Let's just let that ride. To go in and try to be objective and then because I know families coming in and people want to say to us, well, we're placing my mama and my daughter is an RN. And I can promise you 9 out of 10 times the staff, when it comes out, she's an RN, all of us go, oh golly.
Yeah.
Because we do make it harder than we have to. Our expectations a little higher, I think. And, we just come from a different angle than just John Doe walking in to see a nursing home. So, but you do need to be educated when you go in. You need to be educated about things. You need to talk to someone. You need someone like you and your company that tries to get someone to the best place, that has some information. There's a 5-star system out there for nursing homes. I'm not a huge fan of the 5-star, but I get it. I understand. It does run through all of their quality measures, and those are important things to look at. And we can cover some of those things down the road to try to help educate people on what that really means.
Yeah, as we will. And I think that's what, as far as, this podcast is just a way that, us at CareQuest are trying to bring value and trying to put content out there to help families navigate the entire process. At the end of the day, maybe give placement tips, just like things to look out for when selecting and choosing and looking. We can do all that at no charge. So that's kind of like, we're here to serve your family and take all that pressure off. However, not everybody wants that. Even if it's not CareQuest, reach out to a local placement advisor that you may like better. It's just being an advocate for the industry. But at the end of the day, it's about bringing value to it, because when you go through it like you did with your mama and what I'm going through my family, it's so hard that everybody needs to know it's hard. you're feeling the way you feel because it's hard. You want to run from it. You want to pretend it's not there. You want to escape from it, but it's there. And just being as raw and transparent as I can be, I tell my wife, being exposed to all this stuff, no disrespect, God, you're God and I'm not, but please don't let me get that old. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's how I feel about it. No
Yeah.
disrespect to life and my blessings, but when it gets to the point that that has to start happening,
Yeah.
please take me and spare my friends and family and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that
I know
stuff. It's
it's a
like,
lot, and
ow.
I hear people say that all the time. They don't want to. I don't want to live to be that old. And honestly,
Ugh.
I have my mother-in-law is 103, still at home, still at home.
Wow.
I can pick up the phone right now and call her, and she can have a conversation just like you and I are having a
But
conversation.
that's awesome though. That's like,
It
that's what
is.
I'm saying. When,
It is. She's
some people can be
remarkable.
103, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like the one this morning was 41.
I know.
So you're like, wow.
I just
So
I just saw one this week, with this building that I'm helping out. They had a referral that came in, for a 30-year-old female. Yeah. Um, then they had one that was just a little older than 41, but had a stroke. Same kind of situation. So
wow.
very difficult to place. But you see a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
we see a lot of that in the industry, and
Yeah.
a lot of things going on out there these days that are, you've got a lot of
They're hard to
alcohol
take
induced,
in. Yeah.
alcohol induced strokes out there, and I
Yeah.
mean all kind of things, and it's sad,
Yeah.
and it's hitting younger and younger people.
Yep. Well, I want to try to keep our shows together, 45 minutes or under if we
Yeah.
can, because you and I could talk to you for the rest of the day, but we've got plenty of topics to come up. So
We
is there anything I don't want to close it out too soon. Is there any more you want to share about your story with your mom?
No, that's really it. The biggest thing for me, Mark, and you and I've talked about this a couple of times. This is a passion for me. I've
Sure.
wanted to do this for years and years, and now I have the time and the opportunity with you, which I so appreciate, being able to do it. But I really want people to understand the biggest takeaway from today for me and sharing my personal story is that, number one, it is so hard for all of us. And I've been in
Yeah.
this industry for 30 years, and it's still that difficult and
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
But you're not alone. You are not by
Amen.
yourselves.
Amen.
You have people to reach out to. There are resources out there that people don't even know about. And you're talking about the gentleman, the 41-year-old, and we're going to go to a nursing home, and maybe not. There are
Right.
sources in the community that can help people, that
Absolutely.
can help them stay at home even. And my nursing home friends are going to be mad at me for that, but it's
No, but it needs to be shared. That's the point of collectively doing this,
yes,
right?
yes. So I think that's, for me, that's the biggest thing, is I want people to know they're not by themselves. This is an
Okay.
emotional journey, but you're not alone. And if I
Yeah.
can help with anything, all they have to do is reach out to me.
Excellent. Well, Ann, I am so proud that you have joined forces here and we get to do this together. So, you and I will be kicking off on our 5-part series, and we will be announcing the schedule, et cetera. But it's going to be the levels of care.
Mhm.
And so it's the 5-point series that you talked about. So we'll be covering those. If I started sharing all the other upcoming things, we'll be here for the rest of the day. So just saying that there's a lot coming. Here is Ann's website. If anyone wants to go check that out, it's there for you. So, with that said, we will be announcing our schedule on the upcoming shows. I'm so looking forward to this. I hope everybody will like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. We do need support here to grow the channel because we are doing this to make a difference. So, just share it with anybody that you have, because this is true. We don't know the amount of days God will give us to live. But one thing is a fact: we will either all go through this. We know someone that's going to go through this. We know someone going through this or have gone through this. And the only thing stopping you from facing it is death. So it's important that you start paying attention now, start having these conversations with your family. That's part of this show and series, is to stimulate the thoughts and the reality of the things that we have to face. And it's better to start facing them now And like Ann, you mentioned, it was on you, just like my family. It is on you before you know it. It pounces like a bear. It's like a roaring lion. And you've got to start having those awkward conversations that no one wants to have. And you have to start planning now instead of having, it's like pay now, pay later, right?
Right.
So, Ann, look forward to the next show. So with
Absolutely.
that said, everybody have a wonderful rest of your day and week or whatever it is going on in your life. And we're always here to serve. Until next time, see you later.